Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making time at the end of the day to be with us. Take a deep breath because you have arrived. So I am Allegra Padilla. I serve as Executive Director with Levitt Pavilion Los Angeles. We have the honor of doing a free summer series in MacArthur Park, bringing artists from near and far, reflecting the diaspora and all the beautiful connections that our city has to offer and beyond. I am a Chicana woman with glasses, light-skinned, dark brown hair, and royal blue shirt. We welcome you to APAP 2025, and I have the honor of contributing to the conference committee. We especially want to welcome all the people who are new and old friends to this session, and we look forward to engaging with you and learning from your perspectives. Thank you for joining us. We value your feedback, so if you would kindly do us a favor and after this session, give us your perspective, your opinions, your jokes on that beautiful little blue QR code. And as we invite you into this space, please be courageous, be curious, meet new people, especially those who may be different from you. Take care of yourself and take care of others. And with that honor, I would like to bring to the stage Alicia Adams of the Kennedy Center. And there's 3 other people with me. Yes.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this panel. My name is Alicia Adams, and I'm the Vice President for International Programming and Dance at the Kennedy Center. I also serve as the co-Vice President for APAP and the Chair of the ISPA Board. So I am very busy with these organizations and paying attention to the issues. Since the COVID times, cultural exchange, international exchange has been more challenged than ever. It has been in part because for monetary, for economic reasons, and for the fact that so many organizations just decided to turn inward, not remembering the value of international exchange, and that bringing people together is the most important thing that we can do to stare down some of the problems of the world. So we want to talk about some issues. We also want to have you involved in the conversation. So we will have a Q&A after we speak for about a half hour. So this is the order. So with me today, we have 3 panelists. We have Liviu Jicman, who was the president of the Romanian Cultural Institute and the president of the European Network of Cultural Institutions in Romania, in Europe. We have Christopher Snow, who is the head of the Artist Series at the Edinburgh Fringe, and we have Adrian Petrillo, who is the senior program director of Regional Gifts and International Exchange. So we welcome you to this panel and to this discussion. I thought I would just ask each of the panelists to tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we will get into a discussion with them. So we can start with you, Liv.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and thank you for this kind invitation. I'm very glad to be the first time to APAP, and it's not only my first presence, but also the first president of the Romanian Cultural Institute, and to represent here the European Union of National Institutes for Culture, UNIC, briefly. So I have these 2 hats, so to say, the hat of the president of the Romanian Cultural Institute and the one of president of the UNIC, of course, in my capacity of representative of one of these organizations, the Romanian Cultural Institute. I am for 1 year elected as president of this European organization, but what is important to understand is that this European organization that has 39 members is present all over the world. We work through 140 clusters in the world on every continent. So in every place, in every city where there are at least 3 branches, 3 organizations of ours, we managed to work projects through a local cluster of UNIC. I think this is the most important and the most significant power of the UNIC organization, this globally presence. We include especially cultural institutes from Europe, but not only cultural institutes, also ministers, also other national bodies in Europe, and this 39-member organization, like I already said, working through these 140 clusters in the world. A few words about me. For start, I'm now president of Romanian Cultural Institutes in 2021. I was previously 3 years vice president of the Romanian Cultural Institute, and I was also the general director of National Museum in Romania that is administrating the presidential palace, and I had the other position in the Romanian cultural management field. About the Romanian Cultural Institute, our job in one word is to promote Romanian culture abroad, and we work through branches that we have on almost each continent. We have here an important branch. One of our priorities, so to say, is our branch, our New Yorkese branch, and I say hello to my colleagues from the Romanian Cultural Institute in New York. And coming back to UNIC, I want to mention that we try to work to 2 levels. The most important is this cluster level. We offer total autonomy to clusters, so in each point of the world, and New York is one of the most largest and important clusters, for example, but there are also other clusters here in United States of America, like in San Francisco, like in Los Angeles, and many others, also in Canada, also in South America. For each cluster, they have total autonomy to decide their projects, their local projects. But on the other hand, we have some programs and financial programs that we offer through our programs that we decide at the global level, at the European level, like the Cluster Fund, where we set priorities and where we try to facilitate some priorities.
Let us get into some of the more detailed information in a bit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
Thanks, Alicia. So I'm from the Edinburgh Festival Fringe Society. Edinburgh Fringe has an 80-year history. It's the largest arts festival in the world, completely open access, about 50,000 performances every year all across the city, and last year about 2.6 million tickets. The Fringe Society, which is the organisation that I'm here with, we don't curate or program or select any of the work or run any of the venues, but our role is to support the platform, so to provide tools for the audience to find shows they want to see, to provide support for artists taking part, and to market the festival internationally. So I guess my team's focus is on providing resources, tools, advice to artists, but also to support this platform, the marketplace of the Fringe, which is so key to its success. We call it the world's largest arts marketplace, and my colleague Sarah's team accredit around 2,000 promoters, presenters, programmers who come from all over the world to see the kind of international work of the Fringe, which represents 60 countries in 2024, work from 60 countries. So our team provide tools for arts industry delegates, we call them, to navigate the festival and to kind of find the work that most suits their programming criteria and needs. And that's us in a nutshell, I think.
Okay. Adrienne?
So, hi, everyone. So I'm with the New England Foundation for the Arts, or NEFA, as we're known. And despite the New England in our name, we actually work nationally and internationally as well. And so over our nearly 50-year history, we've done a number of different international programs and projects around the world with different partners. But for the last a little over 10 years, since 2011, we have been managing a program called Center Stage, which is a public diplomacy program that we do in partnership with the Department of State. And so we work to bring artists from other countries to the US, and we actually produce their tours here in the US. So since 2012, we have brought 47 different ensembles in dance, music, and theater from, I think, 14 different countries, 17 different countries. I've lost track because we've been doing this so long. And so it's really about providing artists from abroad with direct experiences here in the US, and giving communities and audiences here experience with artists from other parts of the world. And we do, in working with the State Department, a lot of our work is then looking at countries that maybe are not well represented in our US marketplace here. So for instance, we've worked with Pakistan 3 times. We've brought artists from Armenia. We've brought artists from the Philippines. So, you know, it's been sort of all over the world. And we bring artists that also have not necessarily toured the US before. And so we really work with them to set them up for successful tours. They all come here for a month. They are hosted by presenters. And we're looking for that engagement that happens off stage. Those, you know, everyone here knows it. You know, the dinners, the going to the football game at the local college, taking in whatever the local sites are. You know, that's part of what this program is trying to do. And when we started the program in 2011, 2012, it was really one of the first times the State Department had done a program of this scale that was about bringing artists to the US. Historically, the State Department really has supported the export of American artists and continues to do that. But since then, they've also started some programs that bring artists here so that we have a little bit more of a two-way exchange.
All right. Adrienne, I think I'm going to start with you. I believe that Center Stage will sunset this coming year. Can you just talk a little bit about the changes that you have seen impacting that program, or just impacting the work that you do internationally over the last 5 years?
Yeah, so the last 5 years has been a little tricky. We did have tours get pushed because of COVID and dealt with all the same things that everyone did. And we ended up doing a sort of compressing 3 cycles, or what we call seasons, 3 seasons of artists into 2 years of touring. So like in 2023, we had 12 ensembles tour within 10 months. And so, you know, we dealt with all the same COVID things everyone else did, but then started, you know, once we got sort of through those moments, also looking further down the road. And so we do have tours happening in 2025. And our relationship with State Department has been amazing. They're a great partner. We continue to work with them. But their budget also has not necessarily increased. And so we're looking at budget cuts to this program, which we just can't sustain because costs of everything have gone up. You know, we've seen like a 27% increase in costs in airfare and hotels and transportation. And we pay all of the artists who participate in our program. We also staff our tours with professional staff. NEFA contracts with Lisa Booth Management, who does the general management for the program. And so there's a lot of infrastructure to that program. And as the costs have gone up, we just have not been able to sustain the funding. I will also say, I don't want to be a downer, but when we started this program, there were also some private funders that were supporting us, so we were able to add to what the State Department could do. And that landscape has changed a lot, even in the last 6 to 7 years, really started pre-COVID. But it's just harder and harder to make that budget work, and we don't want to squeeze the artists or sell, like we want to make it sustainable for everyone. And so right now that isn't possible, and 2025 is the last planned edition of the program.
Are you looking to replace that program with something else?
We'd love to. We're committed to it, and we do continue talking with State Department about opportunities. But again, the funding landscape is tricky, and so we would have to find partners to work with and find the right set of resources to make it possible.
Okay, thanks. Chris, the Edinburgh Festival and the Fringe is the largest in the world, I believe. Over these past 5 years, what changes? I know you haven't been there for 5 years, but if you can talk to changes that you see happening in the Fringe. Are the same number of people coming as used to come? Are they, how is it different?
So I think artists internationally still see the Fringe as a really important marketplace, and we're seeing the same sort of engagement from countries. There are sort of 13 or 14 big countries that bring national showcases to the Fringe, and they're often funded by public bodies in those countries. And we have seen those return post-COVID, which is really reassuring. I think that the challenge coming out of the pandemic, and the Fringe is heading back to the size that it was before. It's not quite there yet, although we organisationally are less interested in the scale of the festival and more in the tickets, actually, because if artists are selling tickets, then the thing is healthy. If it's too big, it's not. So we're seeing the kind of health return to the festival, definitely, but we're seeing the financial pressures on artists taking part, but also on presenters and programmers visiting the festival to find and buy work. The financial kind of context that we're all working in puts that really under pressure, and I think that's why our focus to try to get industry delegates to really maximise their time, because they often can't afford to stay for as long as they could 5 years ago. So we provide tools to try to make sure that they're using their time in the city really wisely and seeing the work that they're most likely to pick up. But it's definitely tough out there at the moment.
Right. And what I see more of at the Fringe is that more of the venues are curating their own series based on artists that they like and artists that have come before. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that change impacts the work of the festival?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the venues, there's a huge number of venues that take part in the festival, so nearly 300 of them in total. And that really ranges from open access, uncurated spaces, sometimes free to access spaces for artists, right the way up to kind of more established curated programs. And we're definitely seeing some of the larger curated programmed venues really honing the kind of voice and style of the work that they're programming. They know their audiences, and there's a brand behind those organisations, particularly the older ones who've been around a little while. And we're certainly seeing, I think, slightly less risk-taking in some areas, certainly where risk involves significant investment. But we're still seeing very fringy, interesting, kind of world-leading art. But certainly venues are focusing on work that they know their audiences will like.
Right. Thank you. Livia, when I so rudely interrupted you, you were about to talk about the finances, I believe, of the organization. So can you tell us about that and how that impacts the international exchange world?
Yes, of course, also for the European Cultural Institutes, for the European organization, the budgets are always a challenge, and now is an important period because in many countries is a change of power at the European level. It's a new leadership, but and in other hand, for each organization, also for us, for Romanian Institute, it's a decision to see how much of our budget is for national projects and how much of our budget is for European partnership within the UNIC. But what is specific for unique organization, and I think the specificity is because the main accent is from the cultural institutes, although this organization is growing, and like I said, we have 39 members, more than one in some countries. The specific is that we don't want only to promote national products, we don't only to promote national artists, but we try to have local partners, and through mechanisms like the cluster fund, that we put money together, and then it's a contest of projects worldwide. It's one of the programs, it's just an example. We want to encourage and want to develop especially programs that are working with local organization. We try to encourage clusters to develop partnership with local organization, and that's an approach that I also have with my colleagues at, within the Romanian Cultural Institute. If we see our perspective at transatlantic level and also in other cultural scenes, I think it's more, we have more chances to succeed with if we have in perspective to work, to encourage co-production, co-creation, to encourage artists to work together, than to have one show presented here in the United States one time and then go home and that's it. I think the future of globalization, because we talk about globalization also at cultural level, is partnership, and of course local partnership is very important. And another thing that I think it's important from unique perspective, and it's also a chance for collaboration with other performing arts organizations present here, is that although maybe our budgets are not impressive, we offer access in some spaces in the world where the access it's difficult from political reasons or from resource reasons on different continents and different places in the world. I hope to have an answer to your question.
So if NIFA had a project that was working with a European organization, could they get money from you?
Yes, like I said, there are different approaches, different solutions. If we talk about this program of the cluster fund, the clusters decide to apply with some projects to our colleagues in Brussels. There are a jury that is elected from all the organization, and they decide what projects should be financed for the next year. But independent from the cluster fund projects, each cluster can decide to sustain some projects, some collaboration, not only within the members of the cluster, but also with local partners. And I think that is ideal to have also reach at the local level, at the public, and good products.
Right. I think we have to learn a little bit more about what you do and how we can possibly collaborate to get money from you. Right. Because I think probably most of us don't know your organization, so it's great to have you here and to hear you talk about it. Besides funding, what do we need to do to encourage and sustain international exchange? Chris, do you want to start?
That's a huge question. I think collaboration is still so crucial. I think at a time like this, it's very easy to become quite inward-looking. And what's so exciting about conferences like APAP and gatherings of us is finding those new connections and finding ways of collaborating with exchange. You know, we have a platform in Edinburgh, there's a platform here, and I guess we're here for the first time to learn about whether there's more we can be doing together, and whether there's space for artists from Edinburgh, or indeed artists from the APAP community to cross-pollinate and to understand the two markets. So I think communication and collaboration together, these connections, this is what is so crucial right now, I think.
I would agree with all of that and say, I think it's critical to keep our curiosity about each other and the world. It's really easy to talk about everything that's difficult with international exchange, especially bringing artists here. We could talk about visas, we can talk about taxes, you know, all those pieces, and I think it's very easy to get scared off by those. And I think that's where the collaboration is key. There are people who know how to do that work. And if you just rule it out because it seems hard, I don't know that we're doing ourselves any favors. You know, looking at like what are the voices that are being shared in our communities. The other thing we encounter a lot with the Center Stage program is, you know, we're bringing artists from Pakistan, or we're bringing artists from Morocco or Egypt, and someone will say to us, oh, well, I don't have an Egyptian community. Like, there's no Egyptians in my community, so why would I bring your artist? Like, right, that's why you would bring the artist. Like, you know, it's amazing, and frankly, you do have Egyptians in your community, like, they're there, and even if it's 4 people, they're gonna show up for that show, and they're gonna see their culture valued on stage, and that can really go a long way. But also, don't you want those other voices and perspectives in your space and in your community? And so I think just staying curious and being open to those ideas, and not getting too scared off by the practical, because there are resources and people and opportunities to do this work. And so I think that curiosity is just one of the most important pieces.
You make such a good point, and I would also say passion, because this work is very hard. All of us who do international work know how hard it is to make it happen, but we have to continue to do it in order to continue to be curious, to continue to bring people together, to continue to share the cultures of the world, where we have an opportunity to learn so much about others. So, you.
Yes, we talked about money, about financing, but I think that it's important what you are saying, and I want to underline also this perspective that if we started from cultural diplomacy, so to say, now it's about cultural relations, and we want to develop cultural relations not only to promote some state ideas through culture, but to really develop cultural relations between people, first of all, then between organization, then between states, and that can, that I think, first of all, can offer us solution of organizing projects or dreams that we cannot reach by ourselves, and on the other hand, to touch our goals also at national level.
The world right now is in a mess. And I just wonder what your thoughts are. I mean, I believe this, but wondering what your thoughts are about how the arts help, how the arts inspire, how the arts and international arts can improve the quality of life and the culture that we are now living in. Any thoughts? I'll let you volunteer to start.
I mean, I think that's what the arts do, right? They allow us to empathize with other people. They allow us to hear stories. They allow us to share our own stories. And I think that is part of what we need right now. And even, I mean, part of what we do with Center Stage when we're selecting artists, we also consider the artists and the art forms that we are bringing to the US. So we tend to work with artists who are creating their own work, who are working in a more contemporary context. often informed by traditional art forms and cultures. But we've had people say to us, well, but I want this, traditional Gnawa band from Morocco. We're like, sure, but there's other arts and culture happening in Morocco. And there's a punk rock band. That's what's happening too. The cultures are not frozen in time. And so just offering those different perspectives through the lens of the arts is what we need. We're trying to connect with each other as human beings. And that's what our program literally is trying to do. It is cultural diplomacy. It is coming from the State Department. That has its own baggage, but also this is our government investing in that human-to-human interaction because they know that is valuable in a much bigger sense. And I think for those of us in the arts, that's part of why we're doing it. It's we want the humanness, we want to see other people's humanity, and the arts give us an avenue to do that.
Right, and with the State Department, it is the soft power that they're using as a tool for diplomacy.
And I will say, putting aside any feelings about our federal government, we take the artists to meet with the State Department, and those State Department staff say to them, you are here representing yourself. You do not have to represent your country, your government. You can say what you want to say. And for some of those artists, that's actually really powerful to have a government entity saying, just share your opinions and perspective. We're not trying to tell you what to say. So, they can also be critical of the US, that's fine. We all do that all the time. We take for granted that we can do that all the time. I think that is an important perspective to bring.
And I think to take that thinking slightly further, the freedom of expression is so crucial at a time like this, and artists' voices are so crucial. I think the route to healing our society is through art. And the Fringe was born out of this need for freedom of expression. And our mantra now is to give anyone a stage and everyone a seat. And I think that as an aim, as a value right now in the context of what's going on in the world, just feels so crucial.
I would say 2 words: common voice, and I will share different perspectives. Of course, that if any artist should have his own perspective, his own voice, his own opinion, and the freedom to express it. On the other hand, I am a person I was raised in a family very close to the theater, and I'm happy to be here at this conference regarding the performing arts. Maybe other can think that other cultural fields can be more influential. From my personal perspective, the performing arts is maybe the most influential, the most powerful cultural field. But I think the common voice is a key point to reach some goals. I was vice president at the Romanian Cultural Institute, and I pledged for a fixed budget, a 10% part of our budget, to go to a unique partnership. But then, when I was in this new position as president, I told my colleagues that it's time to have another step, not only to work together in some projects, in some partnerships, but to follow this common perspective, this common European agenda in all our projects. Okay, we work together in some of them, but we should follow the same perspective in all our projects. Then I have a similar discourse within the UNIC, because it's very important, it's essential, and is the way it should go also in the future, this autonomy of the clusters that I already presented to you. But I think that if we decide some ideas, some themes that we talk together and that we present together through 39 national bodies through 140 clusters in 100 countries, then our voice will be very strong. And I think also at global level that we have some idea that we have together, we will be very strong to present in any country and at global level.
Because then the voices
We
become
need-
empowered because of the numbers. There's one more thing I'm going to interject in this conversation before we open it up for questions. And that is, and we've had a terrific, tragic experience with it these past few weeks, and that is climate change. Many of our colleagues are not able to be here today because of what is happening, the fires in California. We've seen floods. We've seen everything under the sun happening in a very, very different and magnificent, magnificent in the negative sense of that word, magnificent way. What are we going to need to do to deal with that, to mitigate that, to increase awareness of that, to be mindful, to care about that? Any of those?
I think artists are doing lots of this for us. I think we're seeing work that that speaks to this issue more and more, and I think that, like we've been saying, is so crucial to help open eyes and inform. I think for us as organisations, for administrators, programmers, trying to work collaboratively, again, to come back to that, and to try to encourage communication with artists that gives them information to make sustainable choices, particularly when it comes to touring. You know, understanding what pathways are to stop at multiple places with one trip, as an example, feels really important. And a lot of the work we're doing in Europe is about trying to identify other places that an artist can go around at the same time as the Fringe, so that we're just doing something to encourage thinking about kind of green touring. But it's a really difficult issue.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of artists looking at touring and the impacts of that, and I've heard some other partners talk about that in recent years. I would also say I don't think we should. Not touring, I don't think, is the answer, because I think that then just limits the voices. I think there are ways to tour responsibly, and that's something we should all be looking at, and we should all be looking at in our work. I also think it's important to remember climate change does affect us all. It is a global issue. It feels like something we talk about a lot in the US and like in certain instances, and we know how it's affecting different parts of the US. And we don't always look at that globally, and there are other places that are dealing with it and coming up with solutions and ideas. And, you know, if there's one real takeaway I have from the pandemic, is that it showed how globally connected we are. That there was nowhere that didn't get touched by that, because people move, people do get on planes. Like, we live in a global society. So there are certain issues that touch all of us, and I think we need to remember that we are in this we're in it together.
Climate change is one of the themes, maybe the first one that we try to promote at unique level as a European value. We want to, through our programs, to emphasize our European values, and not only this, if you know, label of European diversity that we cherish also. And I think we succeed through different projects in different clusters, not only in Europe, but all over the world, to have important science projects in this regard. But also from the perspective of our projects, and this time also from a personal perspective, I think we already talk from a couple of years or decades about climate change. I think it's time to have the next step, not only to raise the problem through cultural events, but to have solutions. And I think the cultural sector is one of the sectors that can offer solutions to climate change. I don't know if it's the case specifically to the field of performing arts, but for sure is the case for other sectors like heritage. How can we, like, I don't know, crafts, how can we value our capacities in a perspective that is sustainable from also from climate change perspective, from a circular economy perspective? How can we value our skills as people that work in this cultural domain to have solution and to value our knowledge to be more sustainable for the next generations?
Right. Thank you. I'll just add to that. I hadn't planned to mention this, but I have been very troubled by climate change and by what the arts might be able to do. So at the Kennedy Center, we launched a 10-year initiative to bring together artists and scientists around the issues of the arts and environment. And much to our surprise, the scientists began to come to us to say, we need you to be able to communicate the science, that the platform of the arts is more powerful than any conference that we would ever have to deliver a paper or a speech. So I was very humbled by that and very pleased to see the kind of support that we have gotten. And we started this 3 years ago. So we are into our third year this March. But I do think that we have a very important role to play, and maybe it's bigger than what any of us think. I would like to open it up to your questions. There are 2 microphones here, and any questions? This can't be a silent group, you know? Any answers? Any answers? Any money?
Hi, my name is Rick. I'm from Australia. I was just, sorry, I don't know your name.
Livio Gikman.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about the type of work that the clusters are looking for, the scale of work that they're looking for? Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So we see culture in a very extend perspective, artistic and thematic. It's also about culture, but it's also about research. We have partnerships with artists, with organizations, with NGOs. We work projects in very diverse themes. We talk about public policies, but also classic projects like, I don't know, theater, literature, music, dance, and so on. From cluster level, like I said, each cluster have a different perspective. There are some classic approaches like, I don't know, European film festivals, European days or nights of literature, of languages, and so on. But we want to go beyond these approaches that were maybe of beginning of our organization, and now we want to, like I already said, to include partnerships with local partners to develop the capacity of cultural management of local partners. Of course, that depends very much on the place of the cluster. It's a different situation in New York and a different situation, I don't know, in Chisinau, in Republic of Moldova. to just have an example because it's a priority for us and for me personally, coming from Romania, to sustain the European path of Moldova and of Ukraine in the situation right now. I must mention that we have also 2 associate members. Is the British Council that was part of UNIC before Brexit and is still an associate member right now. And the other associate members is the Ukrainian Institute. We as Romanian Cultural Institute, but also UNIC, has important activity in the Republic of Moldova, and we want to have an important signal to sustain their European way there, and they are a developing cultural scene there that for sure needs support. And of course, it's another approach, like I said, in the big cities like New York, like London, like Brussels, like I don't know, Montreal or so on. But the perspective is very large. I cannot say that we are focused on one field.
Yes.
Hi. Isn't there a European Union Month of Culture in Washington, D.C. every year, I believe, and is it
Yes.
May? Right, where each country has an event and people can come and you know, explore that. I think that's a wonderful thing that is done in Washington. It'd be nice to do it elsewhere also. Regarding the New England Fund, I'm just wondering, so you must also try to raise money yourselves, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So also, despite the foundation in our name, not a foundation. The For the Arts part of our name is correct. But we're not a foundation. We are one of 6 regional arts organizations in the U.S. We are a 501c3. So we raise funds for every program that we do. And we are not government agency, but we partner with a lot of government agencies. So we're able to partner with the State Department in this case, and then also raise additional private funds for our programs, including Center Stage.
Okay, because I was just thinking of the Soros Foundation, the Open Society, because they're so open to this kind of thing. And I'm sure that there are other organizations now. We have a larger population of people from the Middle East. You know, I just think that here, they're probably we need to explore that because I'm sure they would love to see, you know, us exchange more culture. So, anyway.
Question for Adrian. So I'm a booking agent representing nothing but Europeans and South Americans, and I handle the work visas, I handle the taxes. So and certainly I do this work because I believe in the things you're talking about, the value of these artists coming to the United States. So as you surely know, the last year has been particularly horrible with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And as I sit there writing my work visa petitions and consider calling Debbie Dingell in Michigan, congressperson for me, I don't make that phone call because I make the analysis that my problem with our immigration system, when you consider everything we see in the newspapers constantly about immigration and the southern border, no one will care about what I have to say. So I don't make the phone call. I don't write the email. But when I hear you talk about your work with the people in the State Department, and that the feeling I'm getting from what you're saying is that there are people there that value, as we do, this cultural exchange, I wonder if they know about the trouble with USCIS and whether they feel motivated to do something about it. And if they are motivated, is there a way to encourage them to act on their motivation?
So was anyone at the advocacy session this morning? I don't know, was it 9 a.m. in this room? That's all I can remember. And so they actually talked about this. If folks, hopefully many in this room are familiar with Matthew Covey and Tamizdat. And part of their work is collecting those stories. And they talked about how they just met with USCIS, who also was like, oh, we had no idea of all these problems. And part of that case making that Matthew and others who were up here this morning talked about was all the examples that were shared and the spreadsheet of 800 examples from everyone in the field. And that is the kind of thing, they're like, oh, okay, we see there is a problem. But that's what they also need, is the data points. They need to hear from people. So there are people who want to hear those stories. And those are the people who are doing that advocacy work. Our situation is a little different in terms of who we work with at State Department. And while we go through a different visa process, even working with State Department, there is no guarantee we will get visas. It's a complicated system. If Homeland Security gets involved, state doesn't have much influence. You know, it's not easy, but there are people like Tamizdat who know how this works and who are here to support the field and support international exchange happening. So I would encourage folks, if you're not already in touch with any of the people, especially, again, the advocacy panel this morning did touch a little bit on visas, and I think there's going to be another session tomorrow about visas. You know, that is its own thing, but I encourage you to go and talk to those folks because they are working on this.
Is there anything anyone would like to share with us on this topic? If you don't have a question. Maybe.
It's just so important. I mean, it is on such an essential level. It's not just connections; it's also how we identify. We as people, when we experience, performing arts, it touches us in a way, and we also find much more commonality. That is what we're after. It's amazing to me when I bring my 13-year-old son to Croatia to meet his cousins, and they discover so much about themselves, that they're the same, actually. And this is, what we're trying to do on just an essential level as performers and artists, and all of you that support that. This is so essential in every way. And the fact also that scientists are now coming to artists to ask for help, I think that is incredibly powerful. I think just don't ever forget this. This is really profound and very important work.
Claudia Norman.
Yes. Hi, I just want to share that we celebrate a 20th anniversary of the Mexico Now Festival, an independent festival, doing it every year on an independent level. And we were able to bring a choir of 21 people successfully. So I want to share also that I think somebody said about commitment. It's not about just willingness, but is doing international work globally. I think it's happening not only in the US, but globally, requires a commitment and the willingness to make it happen. So I just can share in a positive note that yes, it's difficult times, but for all of you who were here 20 years ago, I work in an organization that need to close because it has a program on the Islamic world, and here we are 20 years later, pretty much asking ourselves what is the role of arts and culture in these difficult times. And we see ourselves keep doing it here, meeting again and meeting a new generation of fighters, because I think what we do is we just fight. And we fight in a very nice and elegant way by producing festivals, by producing conferences, and we find the ways to keep doing it. Funding is a challenge, but there is always a way, there is always an audience, there is always a donation, a single donation. So this is just to thank you, because you are leaders of doing cultural policy, cultural exchange, diplomacy, and bravery, because also to initiate programs, it requires a little bit of bravery. And thank you, congratulations. And this is just the beginning of another cycle. So we have to keep doing and keep fighting. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew. I work at Mid-Atlantic Arts, one of the other regional arts organizations on our international grants, including Performing Arts Global Exchange, that also tries to help support touring of international artists in the US. When I look at international touring, I see so many potential benefits, so many things that can happen on these tours that are so worthwhile, but I also see all of the risks, the potential risks around the visa process, around climate change that can really throw all of your long-laid plans, against the wall. Collaboration was brought up a lot in this session, and I wonder if you can talk about how sharing that risk fits into that kind of viewpoint as well. Given all of the money that goes into these tours, how can we make sure that there is that kind of shared risk going into this too?
Who would like to?
I can start. I think sharing the risk is crucial. I think artists having to take personally, or as arts organisations, the full financial risk is hard. And I think where organisations aren't able to support financially because we're all under pressure, I think supporting with information and with connections is so important. I don't think sharing the risk just has to be about numbers. I think it can be about a more open, collaborative approach to support and championing the simple sometimes. I think being able to just say to an artist or to a company, help them manage their goals and expectations for taking part in a thing, using data to do that. I think we really try with artists coming to the Fringe to help them understand the possible risks and understand what they're getting themselves into. And I think we have a responsibility as organisations to do that and to I guess, minimise the risk by ensuring that artists have the information, which is perhaps a bit of a segue.
Yeah. From my perspective, I already talked about co-creation, co-production. There is this way a solution to also to share the risk and the need of resources. But I think this approach can be also to different levels, not only from a national perspective, but also having different partners also at the local level is about sharing risk, sharing resources. But I wanted to say something, and maybe it's connected to this question, maybe not. I talk about unique projects. This unique label is when at least 3 institutes are supporting a project, but unique, it's also a place to it's a meeting point at a very small scale, like APAP is here a meeting point where you can find partners. I want to send my greetings to one colleague from Romania, Vicentiu, from the Sibiu International Festival, the biggest performing arts festival in Romania. It's not a unique project, but many institutes are European institutes are supporting parts of the festival, and I think it's a European project, although it's not a unique project. And I can give also other examples. So I think this kind of collaborations that not only us are organizing, but also local partners, local organizations are doing, have this perspective of sharing resources, sharing risk, and sharing responsibilities.
I think we have one last question.
Well, and I'm hoping that it will lend a little bit of hope to our situation, because as we, as a country, talk about what our identity is going to be moving forward, both within ourselves and in the world. I had the privilege of being the U.S. tour manager for the Jerusalem Youth Chorus over the last year, and they're an organization that brings together East and West Jerusalem children, populations, Israeli Palestinians together. They meet twice a week. It's a music and dialogue program that enables them to not only to make music together, but they have professional facilitators that teach them how to talk about the things that they are experiencing in their communities on a day-to-day basis. They're some of the most remarkable people that I've ever met of any age. And we were able to bring them over for a 3-city and a 5-city tour last year. And invariably, in every community we went to, we performed several times. We had hundreds of people in our audience, and they got standing ovations every time. The kids were telling stories. They were performing music that just moved everybody. And after listening to you all talk, I mean, we're wondering where we're going to get the support. The thing is, it's not only that people who are making decisions care, it's that our communities care. There are communities in this country that really do want to hear these stories and really value what's coming together. And I love the fact that we're talking about ways to aggregate and to collaborate, and not only from a problem-solving perspective, but from a skills perspective. How do we package these stories? How do we bring together these data points? Are there aggregates of information that we can all source to work together and to really bring these things together in a way that communicates effectively for us to keep these programs going?
Thank you. I don't think you're asking a question, are you? Not really. Okay. Okay. But thank you so much for using the word hope, because I hope that we all have hope to continue to do the kind of work that we are doing, and understand how important and how valuable it is to our cultures, world culture, to individuals, to all of us. And I just want to thank the panel. Thank you, Levu. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Adrian, for being here and sharing your wisdom and words with us. And thank you to the audience for coming this evening to be a part of this. I'm on a timer, so we're right on time.